Call the health committee meeting to order. Call the attendance roll.
Carmody,
Present.
McTaggart,
Present.
Kopenauer, Awful. Here. Hersley,
Here.
Whitlow.
Here. Are there any public comments? Are there any agencies to report? If not, we'll move on to the Iroquois County Public Health Department. Dee?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I thought I'd start off with a state budget update. Obviously, you know there's still no state budget. I did receive an email from Tom Hughes, the IPHA president, on Monday, May 1st, which was yesterday, and he said he's been attending some meetings at the governor's office, but no progress has been made on a budget as of this writing, is what he told us. So it's still not looking good. The state to date owes Iroquois County Public Health Department $81,812.46 that we have billed in EDF, and expenditure documentation. So obviously that number is going to increase as we go. So that's what's going on with that. If you look at our summary report of programs, our summary report, there's just a few things on there. It's always pretty self-explanatory, but I thought I'd point out to you. You can see that temporary food permits are up. They doubled from last month. That's because people are gearing up for the summer, getting their food permits for festivals, fairs, carnivals, whatever you call them, events. So that number will continue to go up through the summer hours, through the summer months. We did give out 22 water sample kits. Last year we gave out 28, and remember I reported to you that was because we had offered free water testing for March. We had Public Health Week in April where we had 1 week of free testing and gave out 22. So that's good that people are getting their water tested. I'm really glad that the flood didn't happen, as you know, that things weren't as bad as the weather forecasters predicted. Otherwise, we'd be ordering more kits because ground surface water tends to get in people's wells and then they need them tested. So that's a relief to us for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. You can see that we're starting to do more wells and septics in the summer months. That's starting to gear up a little bit. Under community health, I did want to point out, I told you last month when we had 120 childhood immunizations compared to like 20 the year before in that month, that I expected them to continue to go up. They stayed at 80, our number was right at 80. But I did look at last year's report, and in April of 2016 we gave 23. So we almost quadrupled it from last year, still. Typically what happens, what we see with childhood immunizations is that we get more in, and you can see it in February and March, because what happens is people who tend to move over the Christmas break, or at least transfer their kids from schools then. And then the schools give them a 60-day notice, and then in March and April, or February and March is when they have to get their immunization. So I still wanted to point out that we're still way above what we were last year. So that's a good thing. Under STDs, we're still hoping that those numbers go down. I just want to explain something to you with the STD stuff. Whenever you look at these numbers, I do want you to be aware that the numbers are probably a lot higher because we send most people for STD testing to the Free and Anonymous clinic, and they don't have to report what county they come from. So they go to Kankakee County Health Department for testing, and then our numbers show up there. Another thing to keep in mind, that because you look at our STD rates and you think, we only had 4 STDs between 2 different categories this last month, but you also need to remember that those are the people that test positive, and most doctors do what's called expedited partner therapy, so they no longer test the partners. If that partner says that they, have been exposed to this, then it's cheaper for them to give them the antibiotic as long as they're not allergic to it than it is for them to test them. So they go ahead and they treat them either way, which is actually a good thing because then more people get treated. So our numbers are always lower than what they are. And when you see one case, you know that there's just not one person, because obviously they got it from somebody.
Right.
You know?
The toilet seat.
Yeah. The histoplasmosis, the 2 histoplasmosis cases, histoplasmosis is, to give you just a very brief summary, is a lung infection that is caused by a fungal spore, fungal spores. Mostly they're due to the droppings of birds and bats. And what happens is, in the springtime, when people start cleaning out their barns and sheds and cribs and all those kind of things, is when we see more cases of that, because
Chicken.
it aerosolizes. What'd you say?
Chickens.
Chickens. Any kind of birds and bats. The signs and symptoms for that are very similar to pneumonia, but they can cause some long-lasting lung damage, and these infections can be very serious. So we take those investigations very serious for those people. So we had 2 of those this month. Any questions on the community health? I mean, it's all pretty self-explanatory. Under senior services, everything there is, pretty self-explanatory too, but I did want to point out to you, I told you that I would keep you updated on those numbers. So, under the senior service programs, under adult protective services, the numbers still are going down for all of our senior service programs. Last year, in April, we had 8 new APS reports, and this year we had 3. Last year we had 10 open cases, and this month we had 6. We had, under the VOA intakes, we had 1 last year and 2 open cases, and this year we don't have any. And then obviously you can see that we did 2 bank trainings this year. The community care program numbers are also greatly decreasing. Those are the ones that I'm mostly concerned about. The annual need-based reassessment last year in April was 32, and this year it's 12. New client assessment, we had 6 last year and 5 this year. Nursing home pre- and post screenings, we had 18 in April of last year and 13 this year. Intensive casework, we had 13 cases last year during the same month and 7 this year. And intensive monitoring went from 7 to 1. So the staff is being adjusted to accommodate in account for those decreases in numbers. So I do want you to know that our part-time person has gone from 3 days a week to 2 days a week, and probably we're looking at additional decreasing in time for that. Just to make you aware. It was one of those 2 programs, Adult Protective Services and Community Care Program, have 3 employees, 2 full-time who are nurses and 1 part-time who is a social worker. Obviously, I'm going to hang on. You have to have 2 full-time people in order to meet the grant deliverable. Obviously, I'm going to keep my nurses, because you can see that my immunization numbers have gone up so much. At least if they're not busy, they can help out with that. So, that's what's going on with that. I did want to make you aware of some audits. February 2nd, we had our PEP site visit, and I had reported that. Last month I told you we still hadn't received any kind of report. This month we did. It was a very successful report that we got back. I'm very, very proud of the work that Eric Stacy does under public health emergencies preparedness. They no longer score you. They used to do what was called an LTAR, a local technical assistance review, where they scored you 1 to 100. And they no longer do that. It's simply pass-fail. Of course we pass. They do make a few recommendations for improvement, just like any other audit, but it was very successful, and he does a terrific job. I'm very, very proud. He's a hard worker. I have a great staff. I'm very, very proud of that. On March 29th, the Environmental Health had their virtual audit for the food program and inspection program. The state just started doing those virtual audits last fall, actually last August. They did their first state virtual audit. That's one of the reasons we had to buy that new CDP program, for food. I fully expected to fail that audit, and I'll explain to you why. Because of the changes in the audit, no county health department in the state of Illinois that I am aware of has passed, and no one in our region passed their audit. I am very proud to tell you, Terry Iman passed that audit. Iroquois County that I'm aware of is the first health department, at least in our region, and I think statewide, to pass that audit with flying colors. We do not have our official report yet, but they indicated to me via phone that he does. But you also have to realize, Terry's been doing this for 30 years. He's got 30 years of experience. He knows those county codes and state codes and FDA codes of ordinances inside and out like the back of his hand. And he's very competent, and he takes his job very seriously. And so I'm extremely proud of that. And Chris, our new sanitarian, is doing a terrific job and catching on quick, and he's going to work very well. He's become a really valued member of our team.
I get to meet with him on Thursday.
Really like him.
Oh yeah,
He's kind and patient, and yeah. The really good thing about these new young people are they're so anxious to fit into the community. So they work well with new people. They want to not only do a good job, but they also want to make it known that they're there to help people, not just to regulate them. So that's important, you know, that people see us as a benefit to them, not just a problem for them. So Terry will have the wells and septic audit, which began out last Friday on the 28th, but it's an ongoing process. That one they're not finished with, and I'm not sure when they're going to finish that. And Terry couldn't, but Bruce hadn't given him additional dates to go back in and finish. So I'll keep you updated on that. And then the last audit I need to make you aware of was that the Adult Protective Service Program, which are the two nurses from the Senior Service Program who take care of that program, they had their Adult Protective Service Program audit from the Illinois Department of Aging on April 25th, and they scored a 99.2 out of 100.
Wow.
And the auditor sat in my office from 8:30 in the morning until about 4:45 that evening, and told me that she had to really look hard to find something.
That feels good.
It does. It does. She said to us, "You have one of the finest adult protective service agencies that I've ever seen."
Wonderful.
That was very nice to hear. So that's what's going on with our audit. The next thing is your grants and contracts listing. I usually give you 2 years, but I thought I would give you 3 just to compare on this one. So you can see that the only 2 IDPH grants that have become available were the preschool vision and hearing grant that I submitted right away on April 18th, and that has level funding, so the funding did not change from last year. And then the Vector Control or West Nile virus grant was also submitted on that day, and it increased from $14,708 in FY17 to $15,253 in FY18. So it was an increased grant dollars of $545. And that is obviously because of the Zika virus. Because if you're fighting West Nile, you're also fighting Zika. Mosquito control is mosquito control. So far, those are the only 2 IDPH grants that have come available. I don't think either one of them are due quite yet, but as soon as they're coming in, I'm getting them in. I usually, typically, I said this the last couple of years, but typically our grants come in April. You get your NOFOs, your Notice of Funding Opportunities, or your RFPs are due in March. The grants become available in April. They're due by May, and then you're notified in June of your award because they start July 1st. Well, we're just now getting some in, and we're behind, and that's because there's no state budget, and they don't have allocation amounts to give to people. So we're still waiting, and we'll continue to do that. As far as the DHS grant, the only DHS grant that the health department has is the WIC grant that we sub-award to Iroquois Memorial Hospital. So, before I get into talking with you about that, I have something to pass out to you that talks about the caseload and where they're at. There's an update at the bottom of this page that I want to make you aware of. You're probably already aware. Maybe not. So let me start at the beginning. If you will, let me let you know what's going on. I received a phone call at approximately 12:45 last Thursday, April 27th. Asking me to attend a 1 o'clock meeting at Iroquois Memorial Hospital. At the 1 o'clock meeting, they informed me that at the previous night's Board of Trustees meeting, the hospital board had decided to discontinue the DHS grant, all the maternal child health services. Mm-hmm. They recently closed their OB department and are now closing the maternal child health program. I did not expect that. What I expected was that they would ask us to go back to the way we first did it, and we upfront the money to them, and then once we submit the EDFs for payments to the state, then we, keep that money. But that is not what happened. So there are lots of decisions that have to be made. And I want to make you aware that the family case management, we only have the WIC grant. They had the family case management and the HFI grant as grantee themselves. Those grants were due April 21st, the application. I was notified on April 27th that they weren't going to be. So we missed the deadline to apply for those grants. However, I know that Tim Smith from Iroquois Memorial Hospital has reached out to them about, once they award the grant, if they don't accept it, where could it go in the community and what can be done about that. I've also reached out to both of those entities and explained the situation and asking questions, and they are slowly giving me answers. But right now they're telling us that they will work with us, whatever our decisions are as a whole. So the WIC grant that we currently hold, that we subcontract to them, was due last Friday. So I was notified at 1 o'clock on Thursday. They were due Friday. So I called them right away Thursday afternoon, and they did grant me an extension until this Friday, until May 5th. So we have lots of decisions to make. I have a Board of Health meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m., which is our regular scheduled meeting, and there will be lots of questions and information to look at and so forth. So go ahead, ask any questions that you have.
Does this mean Iroquois County may be losing some services here as public health?
I don't know the answers to that yet.
How do other counties deal with it? I mean, so you were sub-awarding it to them, but I mean,
Okay.
I guess what is,
So
if you didn't sub-award it, what would be the typical process, I guess?
Okay, so most counties in the state have these programs through their health department. There are only right now there are only 2 counties in the state that I'm aware of who sub-award their programs, and that's Iroquois County and Ford County. Not all counties in the state have all these programs. Most counties have WIC. I'm venturing to guess, and this is a guess, I don't know this, but I'm guessing about half the counties have family case management, And that is a guess. So,
If you had to guess on the WIC, what do you think?
how many counties?
Percentage?
98%. I looked that up. That information I had available to me.
So what normally happens? They just come to the health department and get these screenings and support and stuff? I guess that's what I mean.
Yes, yes.
So rather than go to a hospital, they come here?
Right.
Or whatever.
So family case management, a lot of the counties are getting out of that. Vermillion County dropped their family case management a long time ago. I talked to Julie Price from Champaign-Urbana. There's, it's in discussion. I talked to Melinda Hillman from Livingston County quite a while yesterday morning, just talking through all this. I had a lot of questions. Their family, we know that the future of family case management is questionable statewide. And a week ago Thursday, so not this last Thursday, but a week ago Thursday, at the Public Health Administrators meeting, one of the questions was asked to Lise Jankowski. Lise Jankowski is the running the family case management program for DHS. And she was asked, what is the future of family case management? Because it is getting harder and harder to receive payments for those based on the way that they pay for your caseload. And she said she did not know what the future was. And administrators point blank asked her, will family case management be in the state of Illinois in 3 or 4 years? And she said, I do not know. So we do not know. But family case management is one of those programs that you absolutely have to have subsidization for. It is not a self-supporting program. So in other words, for family case management, many counties qualify for a federal match. We will never qualify for a federal match. We don't meet the state requirements for that. So I asked, I called a couple local health department administrators yesterday and asked them questions about that. I asked one of them, who I know doesn't meet federal match, but still has family case management, how do you make it work? And she very clearly told me that they make it work because they have increased their fee-for-service thing. They increased their other costs to help their fee-for-service stuff to subsidize it. I asked another public health administrator, and they use a significant portion of their tax levy to subsidize that. So what that will mean for us, I don't know. Family case management is probably, of the 3 programs that we handed over to Erie County Memorial Hospital, is probably the one I would, if we're not able to keep them all, for whatever reason, whether it's financial or state not paying or, not meeting caseloads or whatever, it's probably the bottom of my priority.
What exactly is their duties? What is it?
Family case management, they help these families get health services for their children. They make sure that they're being fed appropriately. They make sure that, it's a very complicated program. It has so many different components. But what they do for family case managers is make sure that these young moms have the education to appropriately take care of their children.
IEPs and business for the children.
Lots of that stuff. It involves health work, it involves APORS, it involves DCFS work, it involves, it's huge and vast, and yes.
Are any of these families illegal immigrants?
I would not be able to tell you how many are citizens and how many are illegal immigrant families, because as far as I know, that's not one of the things that they're allowed to ask with the program.
Just wondering.
I couldn't tell you that. I don't have that information. But that's a fair question. But I don't know that. You guys have to understand too that I've not had these programs underneath the health department. Even though we've been the grantee for some of these, I've not we've not provided these services or these programs since I've been administrator. So I am not super familiar with these, and having 25 years of public health experience, I never worked in maternal child health.
Well, how did you inherit them?
So,
How did you inherit them?
well, we
You haven't done them before, but why would you be, not before, but why now?
Because they gave it back to them.
Pardon?
because the hospital,
Hospital gave it back to them.
well, the hospital has decided not to, I mean, they can't give it back to us. Only the state can appropriate these grants. But the hospital has decided to discontinue. They are going to finish out this fiscal year, which ends June 30th, for FY17 grants. And then the FY18 grants would begin on July 1. So, obviously, for obvious reasons, if it was decided that the health department would take these programs, then I'm going to need the staff from their program who are hospital employees to come back and be health department employees, because there's no time to train anyone.
And then you gotta pay some of their salaries.
Right. These
What
grants,
they're
is that
talking
in the
about
budget?
doing, are they getting on
Well,
all three, or just the
after
WIC
that
and the
grant.
family case management?
they're getting all
All
of
three.
it.
Okay.
They're discontinuing the 2 grants that they received, and then they're discontinuing the sub-awarding of WIC through us. So ask that question again,
About, paying them,
the budget.
would it be in the budget?
Well, it's not in our FY17 budget, so that is one of the hundreds. I have a list of questions that is so long it would probably surprise you. But one of the issues would be, it is not in the Iroquois County Public Health Department's budget that the county board approved and posted for FY17, which for us goes through November 30th. So if I start these programs if we were to start new programs on July 1, obviously that's not in our budget. So I sent emails to the appropriate person, I think yesterday, asking how do I open the county budget, the Iroquois County Public Health Department budget, what are the processes and steps to open that, to to do this if we so choose, if it's a decision of the Board of Health and then subsequently the county board to do this. I mean, some of the questions I have are,
What's the Board of Health suggesting?
I haven't discussed this with them.
So that's
Tomorrow
tonight.
night. Tomorrow night at 7.
So it's $350,000 worth of grants
Yes,
per year.
per year.
So, what it really boils down to is dollars and cents in the end.
Okay, so family case management is not sustainable. Not.
It's a negative,
It's a negative. WIC is
which is $85,000.
yes, which is WIC is pretty self-sustaining. I know one of the things with WIC is that we can bill for depression and developmental screening, and when we were billing for that, we were billing about $35,000, $40,000 a year. That helps subsidize WIC. If you're asking me if I can make WIC self-sustaining, I can. I'm confident that I can do that. Through the other services that go along with WIC. Iroquois Memorial Hospital decided not to bill for those things. So, but we would definitely do that.
So you can cover that one, so the remaining one is
The
self-family.
HFI is
And that's the big one, 180.
and that is definitely self-sustaining. They don't. There's no possibility we could use all the money. So it will definitely pay for itself. HFI, very self-sustaining.
And what's the reasoning again, the hospital?
Well, I don't want to speak for the hospital, but I was just notified that their board,
Should be transparent.
the state is not paying for HFI and for family case management. Tim Smith told me that they have not received any payments for those 2 programs. The only payment that they're getting is WIC, which is federal. It's not a state program, it's a federal program. We own that grant, we're the grantee, and we sub-award that. So immediately, when we get the EDFs from Ellen, we send them in immediately. The Board of Health approved immediate payment to IMH. So we don't have to wait until after the county board meeting. That's pass-through money. So as soon as we get a payment from the state, We take it down, and Mary Ann cuts the check to IMH, and we get it to them right away. So they're getting WIC payments, but they have not been paid for HFI or for family case management, nothing that I'm aware of.
So family case management can't sustain itself, and sounds like a lot of the counties don't even provide this anymore. and it's-
Right.
Longer-term future seems like
Yeah.
the WIC can, and 98% of them do. What's
HFI?
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is. I talked to Melinda Hillman from Livingston County. They have HFI, just to ask her some questions about it. Because like I said, I've never ran the programs. IMH has been running them since I've been administrator. So she was very helpful, extremely helpful. She said that you know, that's very sustainable, but you will not ever be able to claim all your money. So I asked Ellen, who is the coordinator for those programs at Erickson Memorial Hospital, how much of that $186,000 in grant money are you able to claim every year? Just to give me an idea, because I already asked her for salaries of her staff, what we would have to pay them, you know, what their equipment costs are, what their supplies, what they order in supplies in a year, you know, that kind of stuff. I've worked through that. But what I wanted to know is how much of that grant money are you actually able to claim based on your caseload? And they usually leave $45,000, $50,000 of that money laying on the table because they can't use it, because they can't go over a certain case weight with their caseload. And what they mean by case weight is so many of them the cases are based on a rubric where they're scored differently according to the family's needs. So you're only allowed to have so many caseworkers per case weight. And because they don't, you know, because of that case weight, that's just how it works. And many grants throughout the state, you know, you aren't able to capture all the dollars. I work really hard to capture what we can for our grants. But I can tell you up front, I will not be capturing all those dollars if it's decided that there's no possibility to do that. You're not, no matter how hard you work, you're not going to be able to capture all of it. Because you're not going to get everybody in the county that's eligible to come in. It is not going to happen. You got to be realistic.
So how important is this program?
Well, HFI is a program that focuses on parenting skills. They go into the families and they work with these families. The goal of it is to prevent child abuse. Lots of intensive casework. You would probably be shocked. I hate to say this. What do you know? Wait.
Off the record.
Off the record. I'm being videoed, I know. You know, people can get a driver's license to drive a car, but you don't need a license to have a baby. And you would be shocked at the help that is needed out there. You would be shocked at the help that's needed. So, I think that the programs are valuable. I think that they provide a valued service to the community. I think that the long-term effects of not having these programs are true effects. These things affect people's lives. WIC is a supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. That's exactly what it is. They come in, they go through a couple hours of education, which is important because so many of these are people who need education, you know. And then they receive a voucher, and the vouchers help with baby formula, they help with milk and cheese and, you know, those kinds of things. Are the people, I'm going to answer your questions that I know are coming. I'm just going to be, I promise this board transparency, I'm going to give it to you. Are those people that are eligible for WIC eligible for SNAP benefits? Food stamps? Yes. Will they starve to death without their WIC vouchers? Probably not. We have food pantries in the area. They will people visit those food pantries. But the thing about that is the people who are getting WIC, and I'm not saying everybody does this, and I hate that this is going to end up in the paper, because it's going to sound bad, but it's true. Some of the people that are used to getting WIC for their children will, if they're no longer getting vouchers for baby formula is very expensive. They will water it down, and those babies will not get the nutrition that they need, and that worries me. That worries me.
I mean, we could argue these social
Absolutely.
programs all day long.
Absolutely.
The bottom line is, this is the taxpayers' money.
Absolutely.
We're stewards of that money, and we have to decide where it's used to where it's actually benefiting that taxpayer.
Okay.
Not,
And I'm going to support you. I'm going to
because there's people
support your
using,
statement.
there's also another side where there's people using these programs. And
It
if the
is.
programs are mandatory, well, then maybe we have to take a hard look and, some tough love there. I don't know.
I
But these are discussions that
absolutely
have to
agree
be
with
had.
that. And as a public health administrator, I have a priority list of what programs I think benefit the community as a whole better, more so than other programs that we have. Sometimes I'm going to have to make value decisions. You guys cut my tax levy last year by $84,000. For good reason, because I had a cash balance over where you wanted to see my cash balance. I completely understand that. Taking on these programs is going to change that cash balance over the next year. You're not going to see it right away, but I guarantee you're going to see that change taking over these programs. Especially if we choose to keep family case management. And like I said, over the long term, I could make it worth it. Right away, you've got to have some upfront costs, right?
Well, how does this decision process ultimately get done?
I'll make all the information available to the Board of Health, and then they'll make a decision as far as whether they want me to apply for these programs or not. I'll be honest with you guys. Obviously, the Board of Health has control over the health department, right? So, is their decision going to be final? And will the county board members, obviously we're going to have to add at least 5 employees to keep these programs. At least 5 employees.
How much can be absorbed within your current staff?
None.
I mean, if you look at these
None.
numbers, though, your numbers from March to April are way down.
None.
So
None. My current staff cannot do these programs. No way.
Just because they're not qualified?
Well, not only are they not qualified and they're not trained to do it,
There's not enough.
but no, they don't. All of our grants that we have at the health department currently, we are allocating their salaries out of those grants. We're claiming federal and state reimbursement on their salaries, on our grants. One of the things that you have to be very careful about is your staff time. For example, I'm going to use Cherry Island. He has so much percentage into food, so much into wells and septics, so much into vector control, was not ours, so much into body art, tanning, so much into non-community water supplies, so much into, whatever. But it can only total up to 100%. And they're maxed. My staff is absolutely maxed in their grant amount. And I need, so even if they had a few hours every week that they could devote to something else, that we could, tighten their belt, and not let them take very long breaks or, whatever, then I would lose capturing that grant money. So it's not going to help us. So these programs absolutely would have to come with the staff, with the current staff. They would absolutely have to. So then it's an IMRF.
I understand what you're
issue
saying
for the
from a
county.
time management perspective, if somebody doesn't have any more time to go, but and maybe I misinterpreted in here, but the notion that our goal is to capture grant money, like Troy pointed out, this is taxpayers' money, and our goal, we want to make sure we get what we're entitled to and things, but the fact that you don't capture all the money, I think is a great thing.
Okay.
And the less money you can capture, the better, because that means we don't need this, and it goes back to the taxpayer.
I'm so
That's the way I
happy to
look
hear you
at
say
it.
that, because in the past,
So less money we can spend at the Iroquois County Health Department, by my consideration, would be a better thing.
Okay.
Because that means the county's better off where we don't need these supplemental programs where we need
Right.
WIC money for people that can't afford to buy baby formula.
Right.
The less money we spend on that, or people needing senior care and extra things, my perspective would be that's a good thing,
Yes.
because that means the county's doing better
But
and
you
we
also
don't
have to
need.
understand that I have had county board members who have been very upset because I budgeted this amount because this was the grant amount and I didn't capture all the dollars. And why didn't you bring that money in for Iroquois County
I
Service?
mean, well, it needs to be,
So I
obviously
have
all
to
these,
play a
like,
balance. I am on a balancing act here.
I mean, the,
And so I'm sure that the Board of Health tomorrow night is going to ask me for a recommendation. I'm going to be upfront, totally honest with you. I have still, and I've known about this since 1 o'clock on Thursday, I don't know what my recommendation is going to be yet. I still have questions. you
Well,
know.
you've got a competent board, so,
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of wait.
We'll
till
let
you
them-
hear
yeah, we have
out,
a very
see what they
competent
say.
board. Yeah.
I mean, there's this, we could debate on this all day, because there's extremes on both sides. You don't want to put a sign on the edge of the county that says free food here,
No.
Right.
but yet, we need to provide services to those who
Need it.
are truly in need of those services.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Do you see any of these clients abusing it?
Well, I haven't ran those programs, so I can't honestly say that. I'm sure,
Sure
just
there's
like
some.
everything else, there probably are.
But that, again, shouldn't be our focus,
Right.
because that's just the good, or the
But-
bad that comes along with it.
The eligibility requirements for WIC, I looked them up yesterday because I knew that they had to meet a federal poverty guideline. But like a family of 4, in order to become eligible for HFI or WIC, a family of 4 would make less than $24,300 a year. Man, that's
Not very
a lot.
much.
No wonder they need help because with food and stuff, because that's low.
That's very low.
That's a low income.
Children.
So, we'll have community members that say, these people need to get out and get a job. Well, are there jobs available? I mean, there's two sides to every story, and I have very strong personal feelings, and then I have very strong feelings as an administrator, and sometimes my personal feelings and my can clash. They absolutely can. And
And that's why I said, this, instead of a social debate, we kind of need to look at this from a financial perspective, because that's what's in front of us. It is the taxpayers' money. It's our job to steer and direct that money and make it good proper use of it.
I can probably tell you with 99% certainty that I will recommend to the Board of Health that we not take family case management because it's not sustainable.
Oh, yeah.
And I really do think in 2 or 3 years it's going away from the state anyway.
Yeah.
Why invest a ton of money in startup costs that we're never going to get back? We may be able to run the program, but we'll never get our,
Sure.
So
And
family case
another thing
management.
people need to understand is the state's not paying. So if
Right.
you were a businessman outside of this government entity, and would you take on a client that wasn't paying his bills?
No.
I mean, think about this for a second.
I understand that.
Realistically,
and that problem isn't going away.
that problem's not going away for a while.
Well, and that is
That's
exactly why
unfortunate.
I think, and that's my opinion, but I think that's exactly why Iroquois Memorial Hospital has decided to
Well,
get out.
yeah, there's a reason why they...
That there is a reason why.
So again, from walking
And
around,
it's valid.
in that taxpayer's shoes, here's somebody that's paying hard-earned money to somebody that's not paying his bills.
True.
Now think about it from that side of it too. Yeah, it's not coming in, but there's also somebody providing that money that sees, oh, I'm not getting a service for that money. Somebody told.
I definitely understand that.
So I think, the wise thing to do here is wait and see what comes from the health board.
Right.
There's
Where's that
professionals out
meeting
there that'll
at?
help us
There
make-
are so many other questions too. I mean, there a lot of unanswered questions. What will the long-term cost of the county be in IMRF? It's not a health department. That would be, basically the county board. That is an issue for you. Where do we house these people? We no longer have, I don't know of any space here. Maybe a little, and I asked the question to, so where do we locate these people? WIC has very specific requirements about, HFI also has they have to have at least one private room. They have to have a supervisor. There needs to be at least 2 caseworkers. Those caseworkers have intensive supervision that has to be done in a closed door room, away from any other staff. That's a requirement, that's a grant, that's a deliverable of that grant. WIC is required to have a private space for the WIC clerk, because the WIC clerk's going to go over the financial status with people, and you can't have that out in the waiting room,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but out of these 3 programs, none of them are mandatory.
None of them are
So at least
required.
we're not cornered.
No.
Right.
And we can work with 1, 2, or we don't, you've already kind of indicated that the loser, the negative one will be out. So, maybe we just flesh this thing all the way out to see what makes sense.
I will tell you that in order to maintain our certification as a certified local health department, the programs that we have to keep, as you know, are food, water, septic, immunizations, communicable disease, and TB. That's all that the state requires. Every other program is up to your local board of health. So, yeah, we have a lot of
Now, where's your meeting at tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, it will be here,
Here.
at 7 o'clock.
I would encourage any member to attend if they can.
I'll be, some of this discussion will be in open session, obviously, but there will also be discussion in closed session because we have to discuss the grant terms and employment and so forth with that. And some of that needs to be done in closed session for the benefit of Iroquois County residents, because I'm sure that there could be other agencies outside of Iroquois County who would love that we not take these and would love to hear this information so that they can quickly submit an application when I do. You see what I'm saying? So some of it will be done in the executive session under an ICLS statute. I don't know, it's called statute, what is it? ICLS statute that allows us to talk about that in the executive session so that it doesn't negatively impact the possibility of procurement of those grants for us.
Good report.
Yes.
This might be a silly question, but do you guys deal with women and pregnancies?
What we do is we do pregnancy testing here at our health department. You can see that on our summary report. But we have always referred those people to the maternal child health programs that were located at the hospital.
So they're not doing that anymore.
So we're not doing that anymore.
So now what?
Your guess is as good
Well, I
as
got
mine.
new beginnings.
Now, we don't provide, do we provide birth control?
No. Most health, well, I shouldn't say most, but there are a lot of health departments in the state that don't. And we dropped that 5 years before the FIPHD even split. Because in the state of Illinois, all insurances are required to cover the cost of birth control. And if somebody's not insured, then they're eligible for birth control through Medicaid. So there's nobody that should be unable to obtain birth control due to the cost.
What about abortion?
I don't involve the health
You're not
department in
involved
that
whatsoever
with that.
in that issue?
None whatsoever.
Well, that's a good thing.
And please don't ever ask me to do that. That's something.
Pardon me?
I said, please don't ever ask me to do that. That's something that I
I assume you've been
don't want to
asked
get
that
involved in.
one. I'm assuming you guys have been asked about that issue.
Yes, if somebody calls the health department and asks where they can seek information, we can guide them on where to seek that information.
Oh, you can?
We can, but
It's not
they
a
can look it up and they can Google it.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily do that. I'm not comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else for D? Thank you. We'll move on. Excuse me. To the next one is there any old business to come before the committee? Hearing none, is there any new business?
I moved to adjourn.
It's been moved to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Firstly, all in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thanks, Steve.